Welcome back. I hope you guys are having a good time. I am having actually a spectacular time. This far exceeds my expectations. Thanks to you all for bringing your energy and your enthusiasm. This morning was to try and tell you where I think we need to go. Today, I want to talk to you about how to play in our ecosystem. And a couple of people during the breaks have said to me, oh, good, we've got questions that we want to ask. And unfortunately, we just don't have that sort of time. So I'm going massively off script, and I'm going to get in big trouble, I imagine. But if there's something that I don't answer for you today, if you take your business card and write the question on the back and hand it to the people out back, I promise to get back to you, because this today is just the beginning, right? We want this to be a continuing relationship, and I want to help you help me, because I'm selfish that way. So I want to talk about two different things. I want to talk about what PMs have to do in order to actually get a program. And then I want to talk to you about the best way to find and interact with those program managers. So if you're entirely new to DARPA, let me just spend a couple minutes talking about what DARPA does. Every single person, every single program manager or office leadership, or in fact DARPA leadership, is on a term appointment, typically around 4 years. Which means that they hit the ground running, and they're the people that develop programs that change the world. I tell people routinely that I am the second least important person on the floor. My deputy is just a smidge less important than I am, but program managers are the people that rule the world. They get to decide how they spend their time and what they do. Which means that if the program manager is not interested in pursuing, if I don't have a suite of program managers that are interested in what you want to do, it will not happen, even if it's the greatest idea in the history of the world. But because we're all term employees, right, I lose 25% of my staff every year, which means that every month, every couple months, there's somebody new and somebody ready that might be ready and interested to take on that idea. So please do not take the current suite of interest as being the only thing that's interested. Stay tuned, because things change all the time. Program managers are what dictate what happens in the world. Now, they come to me and I help coach them through the process of putting together a program. And so I want to start with the questions that they have to answer for me, and then subsequently to my boss as they go up, because he's the only person that can actually decide if they get the money to do the ideas. We start with the Heilmeyer Catechism. George Heilmeyer was a director long ago, and he established these 5 fundamental questions as the questions that have to be answered as part of putting a program together. And if you've interacted with DARPA Connect at all, you have seen these questions. And if you have not interacted with DARPA Connect, you have got to. Those people are amazing, and they'll help you through much of this process. But I want to talk to you about what these questions really mean. From a Whitney Mason perspective, we're missing one really fundamental question, and that's, I'll call it H0, which is how are you preventing or creating strategic surprise? This is all about the impact that these programs have. You might want to do something really interesting. You might have a really interesting problem that you want to solve. But if it's not preventing or creating disruptive surprise, DARPA might not be the place where you need to go look for that funding. Please help program managers think through, how is this preventing or creating strategic surprise? That is the fundamental thing that has to get done. If I know how you're going to prevent or create strategic surprise, I can help program managers answer these questions. But that has to be a key part of this. So what are you trying to do is the first question. But you have to keep this in mind with what is the problem that you're trying to solve. This speaks to the impact, right? I want to paint things blue. It's probably not that interesting. But if it turns out that painting things blue prevents corrosion on ship hulls, right, that actually is an extremely important problem, and that speaks to the impact. So understand what the impact of what you're trying to do actually has. How is it done today? I don't mean what you can go buy at the store, right? This is commonly phrased as what is the state of the art, right? What is the state of the art in the research system, right? I talked about how we struggle from the research perspective to transition that technology. The transition of the technology can't be the limiter and the hard part. If somebody's already demonstrated something in the lab that you want to do, then your state of the art is the same as their state of the art. What are the limits of the current practice? Please don't tell me nobody's ever tried that before. Understood, but there's lots of things that people have never tried to do before. It doesn't make it physics interesting. It doesn't make it engineering interesting. Talk to me about the fundamental limitations. Talk to me about what actually makes you extraordinarily uncomfortable as you try to think about how to address those problems. I told you this morning I'm a physicist. I'd like you to try really hard to break at least one law of physics. We have programs. This is really interesting. Actually, there have been programs that we've had at DARPA, right, that have made us realize that some of those laws of physics were actually wrong. So I want people to push right up to the level of breaking laws of physics, of breaking fundamental ways that we think about engineering. Those are the limits of the current practice that I'm looking for. And then how do you have new ways of thinking about that solution? If this is what ONR has already believed is the solution to the problem, then that's probably not the right risk level. My risk tolerance is way higher than ONR's. And I, again, want you to be super uncomfortable while you're proposing this problem. Doesn't really break the laws of physics, doesn't really break the laws of engineering. I think I can do it, but I probably won't. That is what I think is really interesting. We want to throw the dart really hard as we think about solving things. Who cares? We do a pretty good job of understanding who cares from a Department of Defense perspective, but help us answer this from an economic perspective. Help us understand this from a manufacturing perspective. Help us understand this from your business perspective. What difference will this make to you? And then what are the risks and all the rest of that stuff? That's about the program. Can we construct a program that's on the order of 3 years long that can actually take a bite at solving these critical things? One of the things that George Heilmeyer said later, after his Heilmeyer became popular, was what is the business case, right? I talked about this morning, right? No longer to have things in the display case of DARPA, but in the display case and also up in space, up in somebody's pocket, et cetera, et cetera. We took a hard look at what we're seeing particularly from new people and trying to understand why it is that people that propose the second time do so much better in getting proposal approval than people that try it the first time. And the biggest problem that we found people had was in defining and advancing the state of the art. And the reason we think is because people talk about their state of the art. In my lab, I was able to do this, right? And that is the state of the art. And what I need to do to fix my technology is this, right? We're looking for big problems, for big solutions, right? What is the state of the art? What is going on in the outside world, in the research world, and what problems are they facing? Not what problems are you facing as a university, as a small business, as a big business? What are those fundamental challenges as we look across the space? This isn't a problem per se. It's just interesting. In our recent submissions, we've asked people to just say whether or not they used AI, because we're just sort of curious to understand, how we should be thinking about AI in the proposal process. And people acknowledged that they did or they didn't, and we actually found it made zero difference in their winning of proposals. So use it, don't use it, but really and truly use your big fat brain and bring your innovation and your excitement about solving the problem. This is a question that I ask the PMs. How are you advancing the state of the art? I said this morning that I want to be in a place where your grandchildren don't know about electronics, right? Because they use photonics. Somebody outside said, my grandchildren don't know what a tube is. right? Exactly, right? Tubes were displaced by chips. How can I think about displacing the current technology? How is what you want to do going to displace an entire generation of technology? Not companies, not processes, but an entire way that we think about things today, going from tubes to chips. My own kid doesn't know what a wired telephone is, right? Wired to wireless, right? We've displaced an entire industry, and that's what I'm pushing the PMs to do, and that's what they need your help to understand. How can we actually displace the way things are? Now, I ask for you to help them explain what the impact is, and there's three different ways that we're thinking about categories of impact in MTO specifically. The first is operational, right? Your neighbor across the street is from the Navy, and he says, we don't know how to do this thing, and you can take, state-of-the-art-ish things, and you can put it in novel and interesting ways to go solve today's challenge. Typically in MTO, those ideas end up being classified just because they're something that we need to go do to save the world today. But that's one way that we make immediate impact, is from an operational impact, and that is great. What excites me more is the other two categories. What can we do from an economic impact, and what can we do from a generational impact? And those are the categories that excite me the most, because those are the things that allow this displacement to happen. Economic impact happens, as we create new industries, and as we create new ways of doing things that move other industries out of the way. I talk about MTO as the tide. We are the tide that raises all ships. I'm not trying to solve a problem. I like to solve a problem, but really and truly, I like to take technology and solve a slew of problems, right? Moore's Law didn't solve a problem. It solved lots and lots of problems and allowed an ecosystem to develop. And that has an economic impact as we grow businesses that dominate the world economically. And it has a military impact as an entire generation, for example, switches from silicon to other materials, gallium arsenide, gallium nitride, silicon carbide, et cetera. That generational impact can be the kickstarting of an entirely new economic space. That's the way I push program managers to think about the problem. Please, as you engage with them, right, and they're asking you these questions, what difference does it make? Why is this actually hard? Help them do the homework, because you are the ones that are expert in the way you do things, and you can help them by doing their homework for them. They're here for 4 years. They got a lot of work to do. They can't read all of the papers that you already have an understanding of them. Help them move through that homework stage and get to a place where they can go pitch a program with confidence and with impact. Okay. So I talked about the fact that we switch every 4 years. And you might have taken from my remarks that if you talk to the current generation of program managers and they're not interested, that you should go and you should sit around for a year and wait for the program managers to change. And I absolutely did not mean to imply that at all. If you can't find a program manager that wants to engage with you on your particular idea, you should call me. I know program managers up and down the building. MTO has about 20 program managers. There are 100 program managers in the building, because sometimes the idea that you want to do might actually be a better fit in a different office. Or I actually have program managers from other offices that come pitch programs in my office if it's an MTO idea. So if you're not getting the satisfaction that you want, but by treading the usual path, please send me an email and I will see if I can help. Please understand that when I tell you that I can't, it's not because I didn't try, it's because there isn't actually anybody in the building. But try again, right? Now, I also said that PMs might not be interested, but it might be that they're not interested in it today. When I started at MTO, it talked about the things that I was interested in, which actually were things that I was interested in from my previous life. And for a long time, my bio said that I was interested in that still. Well, actually, I did all those programs when I came to DARPA, and now I wanted to do something different, but my bio still says the same. We've started a new part of our website. It's called MTO Ideas Under Incubation, and every couple of months, the PM will put the 3 or 4 questions of things that he's thinking about today. I encourage you to look at those on a regular basis, right? These happen to be a couple of ideas that you heard about today, I think, from Jonathan Hoffman. They're on the website. 2 months from now, he will have done something about those. That will be new ideas. So please go back and look and see what that says across the PMs, because that can help you find the right PM to engage with. The other thing to understand is that we do not fund projects. When you come talk to a program manager, you say, I have this really cool idea about how to do this thing. Please give me money to do this thing. And that is not the way DARPA funds efforts. We don't fund things the way NSF does. We don't fund individual people to do individual things. We create programs that span a diversity of ideas. If there is only one way to solve the problem, then that does not create a program. In fact, the very best programs in DARPA are ways that are pitched with a couple of ways of thinking about the program. I can approach it from a top-down approach, from a bottoms-up approach, and then from the side comes an idea that you have never even thought about. Those are the most interesting programs. Those are the programs that result in understanding that the laws of physics were not well understood, or the fundamentals of engineering were not understood, because we have that diversity of approaches in there. So again, help the program managers understand that the problem you want to solve could be done in this way, but there's a breadth of ways of thinking about this problem, because you cannot go to Tech Council and ask the boss for money to fund the University of I don't know where. It has to be a program at its level. Okay, so I've asked you, right, do the homework for PMs. Every day, we're MTO. I think I'm being recorded. I'll say it anyway. I'll argue that MTO is the most technically deep office in the building. And we do fascinating technology development, but we always remember that the D stands for defense. We do things that are beneficial to the Department of Defense, and we have to keep that in mind going forward. And then we want to create an entire revolution, not an evolution based on what's going on now. I love the quote from Henry Ford, right? If I had asked people what they had wanted, they would have said faster horses. People couldn't imagine a car. That's the level of programs that we want, is things that people have never thought of before. They didn't know they want it. Best example, right, of things that changed our world, that displaced lots, actually, of industries, and we didn't know what we wanted. It's the smartphone, right? Smartphone displaced landlines and my BlackBerry that I really loved, and Garmin's and iPods and all of these things. But not just that, right? It created the ecosystem where we're basically governed by apps, right? That is a revolution. It changed the way everything works. It wasn't just making a faster horse. And that's the sort of program that I think is super exciting to think about. Okay, I've talked to at least one person today that said, I talked to a program manager, he asked me some questions, I answered the questions, he asked me some more questions, and then he said, I answered and he said, okay, and then he never called me back, and he never wrote me a check. My experience is, as a program manager, When I said at the end of the question answering thing, okay. What that really meant was I'm finding your answers not actually that engaging, not that interesting, not that satisfactory, right? And maybe there's not a connection that can be made here. What I'm asking you to understand is hear the no, right? If you've had multiple engagements with a program manager and you don't feel like things are moving forward, I am the second least important person in the building. I can't make a program manager call you back. I can't make a program manager be interested in this. Consider a different PM, consider a different approach, consider a different office, consider digging into these programs more. They're not trying to be rude. You've seen all of them. They are lovely, lovely, lovely people. And they feel guilt about not emailing you. But DARPA is a marathon at sprint pace. Nobody answers all of their emails. Nobody gets to everything that they want to do. They're not trying to be dismissive. They just have to move on to something else. Don't give up. I've told you there's all sorts of other ways to think about different vectors in this, but please hear the no. And please hear that they have to answer those questions that I talked about at the beginning, and if you can't help them answer those questions, or if there's no fundamental answer to those questions, there's really no path forward, even if they might really, really want to do it. If the boss says he's not going to give money to do that particular thing, I'm afraid that we have no way of moving forward. Please don't give up. Please try again. Please call, please interact, please get with DARPA Connect and understand how we could be better. Help DARPA Connect understand what you're missing, right? That they can come to us to help you, help us. Again, very selfish, right? I want your brilliant ideas, but I want to have them in the DARPA very risk-forward way. I'm going to say something else. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to go someplace else. We have an MTO open office BAA to which we will accept any white papers, any proposals. What happens when that happens is we look at the topic, we say this is probably best for this PM, we give it to the PM reads it, often rejects it because it's not spot on, right? It might be close to their area of interest, but it's not spot on, and they don't want to fund exactly that. They want to fund something different. Save yourself a trip. Right? Find the PM first, find out what that PM wants to do, find out how you can write a submission to this that fits the interest level, right? And make sure that the work you're going to put into writing this white paper or this proposal is actually worth it, because I know it's an extraordinarily hard thing. Find the PM first. Again, I can help you do that, but find the PM first before submitting. If all else fails, of course, submit it. I'm not saying don't submit it. I'm just saying it's a more efficient use of your time. It's a better use of your time if you find us first, have the interaction, and then write the white paper, the proposal. Or submit a video to Eris or many of the other ways that we have for actually interacting with you. Okay, so what happens? You've had an enormously successful engagement with the PM. The PM is super excited. It's never exactly your idea, right? You talk to, I don't know, 100 people, and you take the best of each one of these ideas, put your own magic interpretation on this, and you create a program, right? So the BAA comes out, it's totally in your topic, you're very excited. Here it is. My first advice to you is read the BAA and then read the BAA again. We work actually really hard at writing the BAA so that you understand what we want and what we don't want. If you come to Industry Day, which is a great way to interact and actually hear from the PM directly, you'll hear what they're not interested in. and what they are interested in. Sometimes what they're not interested in is the most important thing for you to hear so that you can write your proposal appropriately. But read the BAA very carefully, because the more that you read, the more that you're going to understand what it is that we're looking for. Don't just tell me you can do what the BAA says, right? Yeah, I read it and I can totally do that. Give me the money. You're going to have to, you're not the only person that's going to say that, right? There's a whole slew of people that are going to tell me that. I want a little proof, right? I want an equation, I want a model, I want an experimental result. I want something, right, that says we understand what it is we're doing. We understand those limitations that are in developing what we're doing. We think we have an idea about how to approach those limitations. And by the way, not only can I meet your requirements, I can blow them out of the water. And here is the justification for why I think that. That is the very best proposal, because nobody proposes to DARPA and says they can't make the metrics, right? We don't have unlimited funds to fund everybody, so we want to fund the people that we think have really thought about this problem and really understand the challenges that they are taking on. We have the opportunity when we have these BAAs to ask questions. The answers to these questions are public, right? So don't ask, do you like my approach? Because nobody will answer that. But if you have fundamental questions about those BAAs, send them in early. We respond to them as quickly as we possibly can so that you can have as much information as you need in order to write a proposal to the BAA. Keep your eye out, right? We in the office, I in the office, have really been pushing the program managers to put out RFIs. As we take on bigger and bigger and bigger challenges, it's really hard to imagine that in 30 days, because that's the time that a BAA is open, that in 30 days you're just going to be magically inspired with some really innovative way of thinking about things. So we've been putting RFIs out so that you can understand what you're thinking, ask for your help in addressing some holes in our program formulation, but you should see those as a bat signal, right? Call the PM, engage, answer, and be thinking to yourself, why is Anna asking me these questions? And Anna's thinking about doing a program in this area, and how can I start thinking about teaming? How can I start thinking about engagement? How can I start thinking about bringing the best thing that I can possibly bring? I am so excited that you all are here. I mean, really and truly, I am so excited that you're here. I really want you to become part of our ecosystem. I can help. Call me, email me. I have limited time in my day too. It might be a couple of days. But we really want to help you guys be part of our ecosystem, because I know there's so many innovative ideas out there that we want to help you help us. Come find me. I'm here all day today. I'm here all day tomorrow. I'm happy to answer any questions that I did not answer as a result of doing this. There's a lot of you. There's one of me. If I can't get to your question, send me an email. If we can, if your email is personal, I'll respond to you personally. If it's a general question, we'll probably put out some sort of FAQ that addresses the concerns for the entire community, so that our outreach can be bigger. Thank you again for being here. I hope you're having fun. I'm having lots of fun. I don't know, that's it. Thank you.